Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast where we watch a randomly selected horror movie every single week. I'm Bob.
I'm Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Bob. What's up?
Oh, last episode of the season with
Well,
a movie that is.
Yeah, I was going to say, the last episode's next week.
Yeah, well,
We're recording it right after this.
sure.
So I hope you've picked out your categories.
Kind
of.
I have, and I told Ben this. You'll hear this on the episode. They're both categories that I've never heard of before. And I was like, because if you haven't been listening to recent episodes, Benjamin has expressed that his category for the podcast is very horror adjacent or non-horror.
Oh, I'm a menace.
Yeah.
I know. So, complete justification here.
Sure.
It's probably not going to be very scary to anyone.
That's awesome. I love to hear that.
But there might have been some intent to scare
Okay.
behind the movie.
So I went on a deep dive to try and figure out what are some of the scariest categories I could pick. And ended up not picking any of the scary ones because I'm a baby.
Baby man.
And picked ones that I thought sounded cool. So both of my categories are at least horror subgenres that I've never heard of that I'm interested in watching. So I picked some stuff that's pretty horror because Ben's picking something that's not so horror.
Fair. And then you got your randoms, right?
And well, then there's the random, which is also a horror category. Like, it's the same thing.
I hope we get cannibals.
No!
I love cannibals.
Stop it.
Well, I don't love cannibals. I just really want to just watch them.
Ben supports cannibalism. That's a great idea.
Eat your friends.
Eat your friends. Ben loves. Okay.
Besides from that, I felt like I was gonna bring something up.
Well, there was the thing you were gonna tell me before the podcast, but then you said it's not that important.
Do you want me to tell you right now?
You can.
It's kind of cool.
It's movie related, I guess.
Okay. I walked into our recording studio today.
My spare bedroom.
His spare bedroom. And I was like, Bob, I learned a fun Shrek fan theory.
Oh God.
Do you want to hear it? And then he changed the conversation away to distract me. And I was like, you bastard. So now we're here. So do you want to hear it, Bob?
Sure. Tell me about Shrek.
So there's this cool movie theory I literally just heard this morning where it's something along the lines of there's a scene when Shrek is basically talking to the donkey for the first time. And Donkey is like, what's your name? And, you know, he says Shrek. But very specifically, instead of just saying, oh, yeah, my name's Shrek, he goes, Shrek. And there's a fan theory that he just made up his name because he didn't have one before then.
No, that kind of makes semi-sense.
Because, like, he lived in a swamp by himself, but also all the wanted posters just say ogre. And, like, even his, like, the signs for the swamp are like ogre, keep out.
Yeah, they're not like Shrek, keep out.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Also, in this universe, Donkey's just Donkey, and he doesn't have a name either.
Well, yeah, because he's just a talking donkey.
Right. Ogre is just an ogre.
Okay. No, I could buy that. That was way more...
And then
way more tame than I expected.
Later in the movie, when he's introducing himself to Fiona, he's just like, Shrek. Just says it.
Yeah.
Without the hesitation.
Because that's his name now.
Yeah.
He's gained a name.
The name also means, like, fear in, like, German. It's something like that.
I'm trying to remember. I took 4 years of German.
It's a very on-the-nose name.
But I can't remember. I don't think I ever learned the word for fear. I'm going to be honest. I never had to, like, use a sentence with the word fear in it.
I think it's German. Basically, it's a name with meaning, but it's a very,
Yeah, okay.
on-the-nose name. All right, so aside from that little Shrek tangent,
The
best type of tangent.
I was worried it was going to be weird, man.
Nah, it's
Because there's some, look, not to dunk on an entire group of people, but Shrek fans are some freaks.
I mean, they're just like any other fan.
No, sometimes.
I was telling you about Shrek Retold, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Which
that's
is
like a cool thing.
Really cool, where it's everyone basically got together and like, let's do the whole movie, but different like groups of people are just gonna do different segments of it.
Yeah. Like, that's a cool, like, community thing, right?
Yeah.
I was talking more like, is this going to be like a Shrek is love, Shrek is life moment?
There's weird stuff like that for every fandom.
There is, but Shrek is
Rule
like...
34, Bob.
Don't look that up. If you're a child, if you're under the age of 18 and you just heard Ben say that, don't look that up.
They know what Rule 34 means, Bob.
Some of them do. Some of them are okay.
If you don't know what that means, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast.
That's fair. When I put these on the internet, I do mark them as not for kids and explicit.
Exactly.
We say fuck a lot. Well, I say fuck a lot.
Bob does.
I just curse like
Yeah.
a lot.
All right. Aside from that, I'm trying to think of any news. I mean, we were just talking about Toxic Avenger last week,
Oh my god, the trailer.
where they were releasing stills, and yeah, they dropped the trailer.
I haven't watched it.
You shouldn't.
I know I shouldn't.
Don't
I
go
haven't
watch
touched it.
I did watch it though. What I will say, it's an interesting trailer, and I couldn't tell if it was stuff they just recorded for the trailer,
Or it's clip from the movie.
if it's clips from the movie. Because some of the things are clips from the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but the framing for the trailer, I couldn't tell if it was just recorded for the trailer.
Interesting.
I can tell you right now, it was just some news clips. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
But just looking at it, and the clips that I know for a fact are from the movie, I'm not sure what I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm still excited.
It looks visually good, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was watching the trailer and I was like, ooh, I think there might be an issue.
Oh, really?
It doesn't have that B-movie aesthetic.
Oh, no. Are they...
And
That's something I'm worried about.
and I'm not sure how much that's going to carry over. Because just from the trailer, it didn't seem to be like super B-movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. I mean, it's a much bigger feature nowadays than it was when it first came out.
Sure.
But part of what makes that movie great is, A, the B-movie aesthetic, but also just the shit they were allowed to get away with.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were like, no one's going to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have this, the most racist thing in a movie ever.
I don't know about ever, but it's pretty bad.
It's real bad.
It's pretty bad.
And so, I don't know. It's just, watching the trailer, I was like, this looks visually good, and I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of fun watching this movie. Like,
Yeah.
I just looked at the trailer, and I was like, this doesn't look bad. In fact, it looks like I might have a lot of fun. I'm just not sure how it's going to compare.
Yeah. Is
As-
it going to be missing that Toxic Avenger charm?
Yeah.
Which is a big draw for that movie. Like, that movie, objectively, maybe not the best film ever, but I fucking love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's, like, really crappy about that film, but I love it.
Yep.
Now, with that being said, it might lose that charm, but it might just be a better movie, and so it might be able to make up for that.
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
So, we'll see. Also, it'll be really interesting to see how short Toxie is.
Yeah. I'm very interested, because, I mean, he's big in the original.
That's kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
Because the guy who plays him when he's not Toxie,
He's tall as fuck.
I was going to say he's kind of a small dude.
Well, he's tall, but he's, like, lanky.
He's not even that tall, but he's lanky, yeah.
Yeah.
But then he beefs up
Mm-hmm. Gets huge, bro.
Toxie.
I love the Toxic Avenger.
So overall, that was just kind of a concern. Not a big deal. I will say there was one thing I was like, ooh, I don't know if I like that, though. Just one
Interesting.
thing. Do you want me to tell you what it is?
Oh, why not? Fuck it.
Because I've seen some stills from it. We just see a shadow of Toxie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's holding his mop, right?
Okay.
The mop is weird. Like, the end of it looks like the top of a wizard staff. It's, like, green and glowing, and it looks hard.
But
instead of a...
It's just a mop.
I know.
I mean, I'll be honest. The mop is cool. Like, I like the mop, right?
It's just a funny joke.
It's just a funny joke, and that's the point. But if they turn it into an actual weapon,
It looks like it might be an actual weapon.
that's kind of awesome.
It was
as
just
well.
a silhouette, but it looked hard. Like,
Hmm.
in the sense that a broom is kind of hard. You know what I mean?
Oh, like stiff, you mean?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it glowed green.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not that upset about that because I would love to see Toxie annihilate somebody with like a weapon mop.
He does that with a regular mop.
Yeah, but like a weapon mop would be cooler, right?
No.
You don't think so?
Nah.
It's like the whole thing of like
Because that's just a staff.
Jason turning weapons into other weapons using ingenuity, or like Hatchet doing the same thing. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
I'm talking very specifically about a scene from 7. Because that's not what that has on the end of it. He does that anyway, and that's awesome. I'm thinking very much in that vein, I guess. And I think that's kind of cool.
I don't know. I just wanted to mention that. Outside of that, though, do you have anything else to talk about?
I have 2 things.
Okay.
First one, Saw X came out. Never seen a Saw movie in my life. Don't want to see a Saw movie. We're going to watch them at some point because there are now 10 of them.
Ugh.
Damn. I've heard 10 is like really fucking good. It has such a high audience score or whatever. Like, people are talking about how good it is. Very Terrifier-esque. They've been handing out Saw X-themed barf bags
Yeah.
because people have been throwing up and crying during the film.
I've heard that. I
And
mean, you
that
sent
is
me that.
exciting.
No, I mean, look, my thing with the Saw franchise, right, is that the first movie definitely has a reason to exist.
Sure.
You haven't seen the first movie, but
No.
the first movie is actually kind of decent, especially for the main thing to know about that movie is that it's like ultra low budget. Like, these people just made like this shitty little feature, and it did really great. And, overall, it's not bad. But then as the franchise went on, it became more about, like, gratuitous violence
Yeah.
and torture,
Mm-hmm.
which is, like, fine. I'm not, like, super into that style of film, even though we do a horror podcast. But it is something that people like, and that's totally fine. But I think it impacts how good those movies are, as, you tend to focus more on the violence and less on the plot as it gets less and less coherent.
I see. Okay.
And I don't know. It's one of those series where it's like, I don't know how many movies this really should have gotten. And so for it to be on 10, it's kind of like, well,
I also
we're
think
here.
the other thing is, from what I can tell, Saw 10 is actually like a movie and not just about the gratuitous violence.
No, they've all been movies,
Okay.
which is fine. I'm actually saying maybe it might be better if you just lean more into the gratuitous violence.
Really?
Because sometimes the actual plot of the Saw movies is like, why?
Okay. No, fair enough.
Why did you do this?
I just wanted to mention it because, like, we don't get to watch new releases as they come out or anything like that a lot of the time, because it would break the format of the show, because we couldn't do outtakes unless we somehow recorded audio from the theater with other people. It's a whole thing. So we try not to do it unless, like, it's something that's like, this is only going to be in theaters. You're not going to be able to see it otherwise. Or it's like a really, really, really big deal, which we haven't done anything like that yet. Maybe we'll do that for something like super huge, but I don't know. So, I like to talk about movies that come out as they come out, just to kind of set the stage if we ever get to cover them in the future. So it could be like, hey, this is coming out. Also, I feel like the front of the podcast is the place where we can just talk about horror news in general.
That's fair.
And because people are listening to this that are horror fans, so it's like, maybe there's something on here they haven't heard of that they're interested in.
What was the other thing you wanted to bring up?
I'm so excited. Tomorrow, as of recording this podcast, I don't know if you knew this, The Exorcist 50th anniversary is this year.
Yeah.
They're doing screenings of the original in theaters. I'm going to rewatch it tomorrow, and I'm so excited. Going with my dad.
In theaters?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because it was his birthday.
I thought you were saying you were going to rewatch it at home, and I was like, why are you telling me this story about it in theaters and you're not going to rewatch it?
I'm so excited to see that movie in theaters. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I like seeing things in theaters. They do rescreenings all the time of stuff.
Yeah?
There's one company that does a lot of horror stuff, and I forget what their name is. Do you know who's doing the rescreenings for The Exorcist?
I don't know.
It's probably the same company. There's one company that just organizes a bunch of events like that. And they do rescreening stuff for horror all the time. It's really cool.
I'm so excited.
Because, like, there's just something different about watching a movie in a theater. And obviously there's the whole, like, it's on a big screen and stuff like that, and you're in the dark. But the big one for me has always been sound.
Yeah.
You have these really, really big speakers that are, like, surround sound. And it really does change your experience.
So hype. I'm like, I've not been this excited for a movie experience in a long time. My dad was like, hey, do you want to do something? Or I was like, hey, do you want to do something for your birthday? He was like, I don't know. I don't really have time for anything right now. And I was like, you know, go see a movie. And I was just scrolling, like, what movies are out right now? I was like, Blue Beetle, a bunch of other stuff. I was like, I'm not really that interested.
Transformers.
Transformers. And I clicked on, I was like, what days are you available? It was like Sunday. I went, okay, let's see what's on Sunday. And I scrolled down and saw they were doing the 50th anniversary of The Exorcist. I don't know if I've told you this. When I watched that movie the first time, I watched it with my dad. And he's always made fun of me my entire life for leaving. First of all, I was like
I would make
10.
fun of you too.
I was 10 years old. It was terrifying at the time. And he's always shit on me for leaving the room. And then I watched it for the show, and he was like, well, how'd you like it? I was like, oh, it's really good. I love it. He's like, me too. It's like one of my dad's favorite movies. So it'll be really cool to get to go see it in theaters with him.
Fair enough.
I'm so excited. So excited to see that. Mostly because, like, I don't know the last horror movie I saw in a theater, if any, at all.
I actually don't know. I was going to say, we haven't done anything for
We haven't done anything for the podcast, and I don't know if I've ever seen a horror. Well, that's a lot. I went on a date with a girl when I was in high school and saw a horror movie in a theater.
Wow, that's really how you impress a girl, Bob. Screaming like a baby.
First of all, not my idea. Second of all, didn't really watch the movie. I'm gonna leave it
too
at
scared.
that. Nope.
That's totally what he's implying.
Yep, that's totally what I mean.
What movie was it?
Oh, I don't know. Some shitty horror movie about space.
Jason X.
Not Jason X. That's a good
Were
movie.
you a child?
No, I was in high school. I was like 17. Oh god, it was a horror movie about space with like a little black goo blob that like attacked people.
You mean a white goo blob?
No, it was black, very specifically.
Black?
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds wasn't in it?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. Not. I mean, I don't really know what the movie.
It was Venom.
It was. It was not Venom, which I have not seen.
It was Venom.
Um,
The horror movie Bob saw in the theater.
it was actually Morbius, scariest movie of
Michael
all time.
Morbius.
Scary bad.
All right, well, you ready to do this? We got one category left.
Oh my god. We have one fucking spot left. One spot, and it's just the last spot in Meta Slashers. Before you tell us what movie it is, I have another thing I want to talk about because I've been doing this the entire season. I've been teasing to the audience, but more specifically, my friend Hunter, that we were going to watch Scream this season because you mentioned it to me before the season started. You're like, hey, I really want to watch Scream. I'm basically going to pick a category so we have to watch Scream because I'm going to, I just got really angry. Holy shit, I forgot about this. More Scream spoilers on my Twitter.
Did
They're
you see
everywhere.
them?
No. Well, I got 6 spoiled a little bit. Something that happens in 6.
That's
Ridiculous.
fair.
I'm tired of it. I had to go through and I just muted the word Scream in hashtag Scream. I went through on I know more. I'm tired of it.
Oh, it's so bad.
The Scream fandom are a bunch of fucking maniacs just spoiling shit left and right.
They're really bad about it.
It's insane. It's like just I've never seen these films. I want to see them. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, they're really bad about it.
Like, god damn it, you guys. Quit trying to ruin this movie for people.
And I don't think they realize it. They're just like,
No.
everyone's seen it. It's fine.
That movie's like still pretty new. Like it came out this year. Calm down, people.
I think
Anyway.
it's more along the lines of the only people I care about, like, knowing are the people who've already seen it. So everyone else doesn't matter.
Yeah. Anyway, my friend Hunter loves Scream. And he's been like, you watch Scream? Gonna watch Scream? I'm like, nah, I haven't seen Scream. I don't know where Scream is. This worked out so perfectly that if this is the last spot on the board, he's had to wait the entire season to hear us talk about Scream. So I just wanted it out there. You're welcome, Hunter. It's finally here. Ben, are we actually watching Scream?
We're watching funny games.
Are you messing with me?
I don't know.
We're watching, what did you call it? Funny games?
Funny games.
Funny
From
games.
2007.
No, you have to be messing with me because Hunter is going to be so angry. You have no idea. You're just not going to, like, I need an explanation.
Director's Michael Haneke. He also wrote it.
No way. No way you're fucking with me this hard. Are you serious?
There's a break-in of 2 young men.
There's a what?
So anyway, Scream came out in 1996.
Oh. Okay. We're actually watching Scream.
Yeah, you get too confident. I'm like, let me fuck with Bob.
No, it's less about fucking with me and more me being like setting up this whole elaborate scheme and then you ruining it at the last minute.
Yeah.
Let me have my schemes.
Doesn't matter, Bob.
It's like one of the few things that brings me happiness.
You title the episode Scream. This isn't for the audience. This is just to fuck with you.
I guess that's fair.
All right, description. What's your favorite scary movie?
God damn it.
Why are you laughing?
This is funny.
It's an hour and 51 minutes long.
Damn, it's long. I knew it was long, but I didn't
Oh.
think it was.
It's long.
Oh,
It's a long movie. I like this movie. Let me start with that. But I've seen it a lot.
I mean, fair enough. I feel like this is people's like go-to. Like, let's watch a slasher. It's this
Yeah.
and like probably anywhere from Friday 2 through 12.
Yeah. So I'm kind of in that boat of I've seen this movie too many times.
I mean,
You
fair
know.
enough.
But I do like it. Ratings are
Thank God.
review scores. IMDb gave it a 7.4 out of 10.
It's pretty good.
Tomato meter is an 81%.
God damn.
And an audience score of 80%.
Hell yeah.
For awards, it has 12 wins and 11 nominations.
Holy shit.
Notable actors: David Arquette
Hell yeah.
as Dewey Riley, played Chris McCormick and Eight-Legged Freaks.
I like that that's the one you chose.
I mean, obviously.
We've seen so many David Arquette films on this podcast.
Yeah, but that's kind of like the ultimate one, right?
Yeah, no.
Episode 1.
It's this and it's Eight-Legged Freaks and Scream for me, personally. But I do love him in Rat
No,
Race.
he's most famous in this movie.
Yeah.
But I can't be like, oh yeah, it's David Arquette. He's playing Dewey Riley. He's also been in Scream.
Well, yeah, it's true.
Neve Campbell as Sydney Prescott. She played Susie Toller in Wild Things. Courtney Cox as Gail Weathers. She played Monica Geller from Friends.
Oh.
She was on 234 episodes between 1994 and 2004.
Never seen Friends.
Matthew Lillard as Stu Macher.
I love him.
Shaggy, Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. He's so good.
I love Matthew.
He's one of my favorite people, like, ever.
He's just great. Rose McGowan as Tatum Riley. She played Cherry Darling in Planet Terror. Jesus Christ.
That name, she sounds really familiar. Is she in anything else?
Not that you know.
That name is so familiar, but I don't know what I know her from.
What? Rose McGowan?
Yeah.
I think that's how you pronounce her last name. Skeet Ulrich as Billy Loomis.
That's sick. What a good name.
Played Chris Hooker in The Craft. Jamie Kennedy as Randy Meeks. He played Tim Avery in Son of the Mask, the inferior Mask film.
Those movies are not, I will say, they are not good,
The first one's
but
decent.
I do enjoy them.
The first one's decent enough.
Yeah.
I've heard the comic's a lot darker.
There's a comic? I had no fucking
No,
idea.
it's a comic.
I didn't know
And
that.
it got a movie adaptation.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
I've only seen the films.
Oh, no, it's a comic, like, first. And it's supposed to be dark.
Well, yeah. I mean, the mask itself is a fucked up thing.
Yeah.
Also, that totally makes sense for it to be a comic because that is like the most comic book ridiculous premise I've ever seen in my life.
Well,
I just never thought about
Just
it.
the appearance change alone.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's very comic book-esque.
W. Earl Brown as Kenny Jones. Played Dan Doherty from Deadwood. He was on 36 episodes between 2004 and 2006. Joseph Whipp as Sheriff Burke. Played Sergeant Parker in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Liev Schreiber as Cotton Weary. He played Victor Creed in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I hate the X-Men movies. And I love the X-Men, which speaks a lot. Those movies make me so angry.
They're not good.
They're not good, but the X-Men comics are fucking phenomenal.
And I think the real issue with those films is that the timeline's all janky.
Yeah.
And you
Which,
can't...
I'll be honest, the X-Men comic timeline is also janky.
No, that's fair.
But they do a much better job of explaining it.
But they do a much better job of explaining it. And it's just kind of like, guys, you could have tried on this timeline some.
Yeah. At
'Cause,
least
like,
a little.
I don't know what's happening. I do like their Wolverine actor.
Yeah. Hugh Jackman does a good Wolverine.
I mean,
He could be shorter.
he's a very inaccurate Wolverine,
Yeah.
but he's pretty great.
But he's great.
That's mostly just because it's Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman's just a good actor.
Drew Barrymore as Casey Becker.
I didn't know Drew Barrymore was in this.
Yeah, but she's like the main character in the movie.
I've never seen this movie.
Okay. She played Lucy Whitmore in 50 First Dates. And then Roger Jackson as like the scream voice, Ghostface voice on the
cool.
phone.
Awesome.
And he did the voice for Singed in League of Legends.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
And that's extremely funny to me.
However, that is not, I'd say, his most iconic role. Aside
Okay.
from this, he was Mojo Jojo from
The Powerpuff
Girls. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
OG Mojo Jojo.
That's sick.
Yeah, so he was originally coming to this convention we're going to
Yeah?
in a couple weeks, but now he's not, and I'm very sad.
Well, you're sad, but other people are much sadder about
I
it.
know, but he's Mojo Jojo.
That's what you were excited about.
I was excited about. Never really watched the Powerpuff Girls as a show.
Oh, I watched it all the time because I had younger sisters.
Oh.
So they would constantly be watching it, and I'd just be like, well, I guess I'm watching this too now.
That's fair. I never watched it, but he's just funny.
Oh, Mojo Jojo's fucking hilarious. He's just a green smart monkey. Like, that's such a funny concept. I'm sorry, but that's hilarious.
Now, I did watch Samurai Jack.
Oh, Samurai Jack is
Samurai
so
Jack
good.
is great.
Did you see the new like seasons they put out?
I've not.
Very adult.
Well, that's, yeah.
That's the point, but also like so good.
I mean,
Samurai Jack is so awesome.
yeah, it's pretty great. We're getting sidetracked. But directors, Wes Craven.
Mm-hmm.
Also directed A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
Obviously. Writers, Kevin Williamson. We've seen him before, you know. Where did we see him, Bob?
Oh,
We saw him literally this season. You better be able to remember.
that one movie.
What
I
was
know
it?
what you did last summer.
There you go. But besides from that, he was also like, it's technically a writer credit, but it's under creator for The Vampire Diaries.
Oh, I didn't know that. Never
So
seen it, but I've heard it's good.
171 episodes
Didn't know it was that long.
between 2009 and 2017.
Holy fuck.
Budget is estimated at $14 million
It's a
with
good amount of money.
a box office of, do you want to take a guess?
Ooh.
Remember, this is 1996, so
Mhm.
a tribute for inflation, and also that this is a horror movie in the 90s.
And it was what? You said it made 14? It was what?
It was made for $14 million.
made for 14.
Remember, horror movies were basically dead. The slasher genre died.
Yeah, but it still probably made a fuckload of
This
money.
is what revived it, but just keep that in mind.
my gut says $200 million, but that's insane.
Yeah.
15 million.
15 million?
Yeah.
Bob, the
Mhm.
budget was 14 million.
Oh, sorry.
Did you mean 150?
Yes.
The fact that you couldn't respond.
I had to think about it. Yeah, 150 million.
Close. $173
Holy
million.
fuck.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's a lot of money for 1996.
That's so much money, and oh my god.
Country of origin, United States. And the working title is, do you know?
I actually don't know.
It's actually really famous. Scary Movie.
I had no fucking idea.
Yeah, that was the working title for this film, which is why there's this very famous and not great franchise called Scary Movie.
Which is the first one is a spoof of this film.
Yep.
Which, I'll be honest, I think the first one's probably the best one.
Oh yeah.
And it's like I haven't seen it in years, but I remember genuinely thinking some of it was funny.
It's the most solid, mostly because it's a spoof of this movie pretty closely.
Yeah, no, it's very, very close, but it's hilarious.
And what's so interesting about like this working title name is that unlike most movies where it was just like, oh, this is the working title for like the beginning of the film, it was Scary Movie for like almost the whole production time. Like
really?
Up to release, it was basically Scary Movie.
Oh, that makes the line, "What's your favorite scary movie?" like hit way harder. That's good.
In fact, like after production, like cast members received gifts like with Scary Movie.
Really?
Because like that was the intended title. And like last minute, one of the producers was like, you know what's a better movie title than Scary Movie? Scream. And then basically changed it.
I don't know if I agree.
And I don't necessarily agree either. But I think it's very funny because like they had to get into like a lawsuit because of it. Because there was another movie called like Screamers from another studio that came out like a year or two earlier.
Damn.
And they were like, Scream's too close.
No, it's not. That's two different things.
They eventually won it, but I think I prefer Scary Movie.
I think I also prefer Scary Movie, mostly because Scary Movie is generic, but in a good way for a horror film, and Scream is generic in maybe not the same way.
Yeah, we had a very similar conversation when talking about Alien and Star Beast, where Scream is more iconic.
Yes.
And identifiable, but with how big this film was.
If it was just called Scary Movie, that would be fucking sick.
Would be a much better title if it had done well, but it did. So then it's
because also Scary Movie like totally leans into the meta nature of this film, and that's so cool.
I think it would have been a better title.
No, me too.
You know.
But I mean, what can we do?
What can we do?
1996. Neither of us were even alive.
I was almost alive.
Shut up.
I'm a 90s kid.
I'm a 90s kid. Fuck you. I wish people could see some of the faces you make at me during the podcast.
I was just jealous.
I'm not jealous. I don't care.
You ready for the tagline?
Sure.
Someone has taken the love of scary movies one step too far.
Okay.
Solving this mystery is going to be murder.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's how I feel about most taglines from older films is they're fine.
So, you ready for the bad news?
Oh, what? Huh? Bad news. There's bad news?
Yeah, there is. So, basically, when Williamson made this script, right?
Yeah.
It kind of started a bidding war because he put it up and, like, everyone was like, oh, I want to do that movie. Because it looked pretty good, which was kind of an unexpected thing for him because he wrote a slasher film after the slasher genre was basically unprofitable. But there was a bidding war, and the people who ended up winning the bidding war was, well, Dimension Films, which is, well, let me rephrase that. The distributor for this film is Dimension Films. Who actually ended up winning it was Miramax.
Oh, my God. They got to stop touching stuff.
Who is a company founded by...
Ugh.
By...
What was his name? Harvey Weinstein?
Yeah, Bob Weinstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Weinstein brothers.
I don't like that I share a name with that guy, by the way.
But yeah, so the script ended up getting bought by Miramax and then distributed by Dimension Films, which is a subsidiary of them. So this film and then a number of the sequels are associated with Miramax. So that's kind of a negative thing nowadays.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, they suck.
Yeah, so I thought I should mention that.
God damn it.
Anyways, we kind of talked about this, but this film's kind of a big deal because it revitalized the slasher and like horror genre basically when it died because it was dead in the water. Basically, people were like, we're not going to make any money doing this. It's bad. And this kind of was like, oh, wait, we can make money now. And then we saw things like I Know What You Did Last Summer come out the next year and make a shit ton of money too. And it's kind of created all that stuff we have now. This film also made it more acceptable for like big name actors to star in horror movies.
Oh,
Drew Barrymore
yeah.
is in this film, and since this film did well, it was like, oh, this is okay to do. Like, we can have a big name actor as our lead in a film like this and not ruin their career.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. It also created the trend of meta slashers in like the early 2000s, which we kind of talked about.
We've covered pretty okay.
Meta slashers, but more importantly, like teen horror movies. That's probably a more accurate way to phrase it.
Yeah.
And then obviously this started a franchise for Scream.
I mean, yeah. What are they, 6 movies in?
Multiple movies and also a TV show.
Oh, I've heard the show is quite good.
So
Well, at least the first season.
pretty great. Next thing I want to mention is that there's a number of cameos in this movie.
Oh, cool.
Like a large number of them.
Okay, I'll be on the lookout.
But like there's some really good ones in here. There's one with Wes Craven.
Oh, sick.
Do you want me to tell you which one it is?
Yeah, because I don't know if I'll catch it.
Okay. He's dressed as a janitor named Freddy. And he's wearing a striped sweater and a fedora.
That's pretty great.
It's pretty great. There's also another cameo in here of Linda Blair. She's playing a reporter.
Oh, that's cool.
We were just talking about her.
Yeah, we were.
So I think those are kind of 2 really cool ones that I didn't mention earlier. Next thing to note, Williamson was partially inspired to write this script after he watched a documentary on the Gainesville Ripper. So Danny Rolling.
That's kind of cool.
Actual serial killer.
Well, okay,
As you
that
do.
sounds bad. It's cool that he was inspired to write this because of an actual, like, real-life killer.
Yeah.
And I feel like that might lend itself to some of probably the more grounded elements of this film.
It was more that he was watching a documentary and it kind of freaked him out. And then he was like, got in that mood, like that mindset of thinking about horror movies. Next up, most of the filming for this movie took place in like actual locations rather than on sound stages.
That's cool. I love that stuff.
Just because there was some technical issues with shots. So like lots of interior exterior shots where like, you know, we're filming inside this room and there's a window, and if we keep cutting back and forth, that's like 2 different sets, and it's easier to just film
at the place instead of having 2 different sets
in a house.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
So that's why that's done. But I thought I should mention it. You know, it's always cool to see, but it also adds some weird like logistical stuff for filming.
Yeah.
When you're filming in an actual house and not a soundstage.
It's also my preference when it comes to stuff that can be filmed on location. Like, of course, when you make a sci-fi film, you can't film on location because you're probably somewhere ridiculous that you can't actually be. But in a film like this, I love that sort of thing.
Yeah. Next thing I want to talk about, because I think it's kind of funny, is the fact that there was a point in time when working on this film where the Weinstein brothers were so critical of Craven's work on the film that they called it workmanlike at best. And we're considering like abandoning the whole film project.
Oh my God, that's nuts.
They were basically like, yeah, I don't like anything about what you're doing. It's bad. Change up the mask. Reshoot all these scenes.
Wow.
And eventually Craven was like, all right, how about I make you a deal? I'll take all this footage I have, which was really honestly only from the very beginning of the movie. Like they hadn't shot much. And he was like, I'll edit all this raw footage together into like a prototype.
Like a proof of concept thing?
Yeah, for this early part of the movie. And I'll put in like some basic sound and stuff like that. And if you don't like it, we'll just scrap the whole project.
Holy shit.
And he put it together and they were like, what? I think their words were like, what do we know? You're doing great.
So,
and then they gave him more money. So
nice.
I thought that was very funny.
I love stories like that when it comes to, at least in theater and in movie production. A lot of the time, from what I know and what I've heard, executive producers and like big wigs who own like the studio will come and like suggest things, and directors go, oh yeah, I'll make that change, I'll put that in the movie, and then they just don't listen. They just do what they want anyway.
A lot of times it does come from the fact that a lot of the times the executives don't understand movies in the same way.
It's a whole thing, especially in theater. Like it's so funny.
Well, the way I know it is like cinema, because they'll come down and they'll be like, well, this tested well with the audience, maybe you should add this, and the director's like, that's not gonna work. But
well, I've
okay.
had multiple situations where someone like will come down and talk to the director and be like, yeah, can we make this change for this reason? Director, oh yeah, I'll make that change. They go away and the director goes, I'm not fucking doing that. Because it's just a logistical nightmare and you're doing it for no reason.
Yeah.
And I just really I just really think it's funny that Wes Craven was like, look, if you don't like it, we'll scrap it. That's nuts.
No, he was really upset. Like, really upset.
I mean, I would be too if I'm putting all this time, effort, and money into something. Or not money, I guess, but time and effort.
No, so when he got this project, had basically had a couple flops, like for movies. And so he's starting on this new project, and almost immediately off the bat is insulted and told your work is garbage. And, you know, he wanted to complete the movie.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh, I'll make you a deal. It was like, I'm begging you, please don't cancel this project. Let me maybe show you something to save it. And, you know, they gave in eventually. We're like, sure, but if it isn't good, I'm just going to scrap the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it was a really close call. So
That's crazy,
I thought you should mention
honestly.
that. The last thing to mention here, and to be honest, there's a ton of stuff we could talk about with this movie.
Yeah.
That I'm just not going to get into because there's too much to talk about. Same thing as we talked about with Alien, you know, where it's well documented. Like, there's a whole nightmare behind the mast for this film.
Really?
Yeah, because it was for a certain company, but then they were like, we don't want to pay you for that. So they made their own.
Damn.
Stuff like that. But long story short, the last thing I really do want to mention for, like, behind-the-scene facts for this movie is that the MPAA originally gave this film a NC-17 rating.
Really?
Which really annoyed Wes Craven, and he was very frustrated about it because he was like, yeah, this is just the MPAA just being...
It's being dickbags?
Dickbags, because they gave it an NC-17 rating for intensity.
How does that what?
Too intense.
What?
Not too gory or too violent. They were just like, the movie's too intense. We're not going to give you, like, any specifics about, like, what you need to take out. Just the movie as a whole is too intense.
That's horseshit.
And, you know, they only eventually changed the rating to an R after 9 cuts and an argument from, like, Miramax and stuff that, like, hey, the movie's a spoof. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Lots of hoops to jump through.
That's so dumb.
And it's very frustrating.
That's a dumb reason to get a NC-17 rating.
Yeah, Wes Craven just talked about it. He's like, yeah, I'm really good at this thing, and I make a good movie. And then they tell me, no, not that there's an issue with, like, these scenes, but that it's too intense. Like, I did too good of a job.
Yeah, I literally... That's so dumb.
And, I mean, NC-17, it looks like it might be changing nowadays with how Terrifier did.
Yeah, that's true.
But, you know, for the longest time, the whole idea with NC-17 is it's basically you can't make an NC-17 movie because it's financial suicide.
Which, I mean, now they're not even putting out, like, Terrifier, if it was released, would be NC-17. Like, if it got rated by the MPAA. But now they're just releasing films unrated, and they're doing okay.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, we've kind of reached a point where...
people don't care anymore.
People don't care, and I'm cool with that. I love watching crazy shit like that.
But yeah, that's all I have to talk about for this movie for, like, facts, because I don't want to get into too much else.
No, I mean, it's a lot to unpack. This movie is extremely famous. There's tons of other content on it. And if you are an audience member and you want to hear stuff that's more in-depth, I'm sure there is a much more produced podcast that does a much better job than we do on this sort of thing. Because that's not really the point of this show. Okay.
All right, well, I guess we can get to the movie now.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We just finished watching Scream.
Gulp.
Uh-huh.
What do you think, Bob?
It's good.
Yeah?
It's a good movie. No, it's really good. I liked it a lot, actually.
Okay.
It's much funnier than I anticipated, which was probably the best part.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I think it's mostly like the different movie references splattered throughout.
Yeah,
They're
that
just
was the big one.
Kind of a fun nod, but also just some of the actors
Mm-hmm.
and how they characterize their parts, especially Matthew Lillard.
Oh, he's so funny. He's so funny, bro.
He's just a maniac in this film,
Yeah.
and it's almost too much, but I just love it.
No, it's super good. I like it a lot.
On that note, though, I'm kind of in this weird place where the talk about this film, I kind of have to spoil it.
Yep.
So I'm going to do like the simplest description ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you just want to go into the spoiler section?
I'm going to be for real. And this is coming off someone who has just seen this movie for the first time. I don't know if we even should include a spoiler section because the whole movie is a spoiler section.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing you can talk about in this film that is not a spoiler.
Well, yeah, I know. That's what I meant. It's like, I'm going to give like a rough description of this film, and then the whole discussion's going to be like a spoiler.
Yeah, like, basically what I'm saying is there's not going to be a spoiler section. From after this description Ben's going to give that's very loose, we're just going to start spitting facts.
Yeah. Simple premise, though. There's this guy. His name's Ghostface.
Yeah.
That's what they call him.
I guess that's his name, technically.
He in this universe is just wearing like a cheap Halloween costume.
Mm-hmm.
You know, black robes, white mask.
Yeah.
And he is murdering in Woodsboro. I believe that's the name of the town.
You actually got it right for once. That was pretty. The number of times you've gone, I think it's this town, and I go, no, that's not the right town. And I tell you the right town name. I was surprised you got this one right.
Yeah, it's the town that dreaded sundown. Ba-doom. Crash.
I didn't get that.
It's a movie.
Okay.
They also make that joke in the film.
Oh,
so,
do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
There's a curfew, and like
Yeah.
Dewey's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like the town that dreaded sundown. That's the description. Ghostface kills people. Can't really give anything else away.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's fair.
we're just gonna go into the spoiler section now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so hard to talk about this movie without spoilers. So I'm just gonna go straight off the bat. I don't know if you heard it right now. If Bob clipped it in earlier, or if
I
he's
don't
gonna
know.
clip
I
it
could
in
find it.
later. Bob, it is the first 10 seconds. If you cannot find it, I am going to insult you for incompetency for like 2 weeks.
I'm gonna be honest. They haven't heard it yet.
But I know you were gonna put it in later. Right before like I put on the movie, I turned to Bob and I was like, "Hey, I know you know spoilers for this film. What do you know?" And Bob told me what he knew, and I was like, "Huh, I want you to say that on recording, just in case, so we can put it into the episode, so they know what you're coming in with." And of course, Bob didn't realize that I said that because the spoiler he knew for this movie was wrong.
Partly. I was partly wrong.
It was very wrong.
I-
So, spoiler for who the killer is in this movie. I'll let you know beforehand, unlike those other Scream fans.
Yeah.
But Bob goes, "Yeah, I know who the killers are. It's Matthew Lillard's character, Stu,
Yes.
and David Arquette's character,
Yeah.
Dewey."
Yep.
Bob, was that a correct knowledge for you?
50%.
50%, right?
50%.
Who are the killers?
Well, it's Stu. I was right about Stu, and
Right about
I knew
Stu.
that. But why did I think it was Dewey?
Who was it, actually?
Billy.
Billy Loomis.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name for a second.
Yeah. And it was a very fun time that
Yeah.
you didn't know,
Yeah, it was funny.
because the whole movie you were going like, "Oh, it sucks that Billy is getting framed."
Yep.
Oh my god. And it was also really nice because like this is one of those films where you really don't want to know who the killers are.
No, absolutely not.
Because half the fun of this movie, and they even reference this fact in the movie, and very specifically, Randy references this fact,
Motherfucking Randy.
that everyone's a suspect, and
Yeah.
the film really does try really hard to make everyone a suspect.
No, and everyone is a suspect, and that's what makes this movie fun.
The most egregious version of it is at one point the sheriff drops a cigarette on the ground, and we see his boots, and they're the same boots we see the killer in.
Yep.
And we have no reason to think it's that character.
No,
besides
absolutely
that
not.
one thing out of nowhere. But the fact that you didn't know one of the killers, but thought it was someone completely different,
It was funny.
was not only very funny for me, but I think probably gave you the closest experience to just going in blind.
Yeah,
That we
basically,
could have
yeah.
hoped for. So that was really nice. If very funny.
No, it was
The
funny.
whole time you're
It
like,
was definitely funny.
I know Dewey's a menace.
Because look, of all the characters they set up to be the killer, which is a lot of them, most of them, in fact, I would say the biggest red herrings are Dewey and Randy.
Oh, no. Dewey,
Is egregious.
Randy. I mean, Billy and Stu are pretty obvious red herrings. But
Yeah,
that's kind of the point. But yeah, Dewey and Randy are kind of the...
Like every time Dewey would do something suspicious, I go, "Damn, sucks that he's the killer."
Yeah, they did really set it up pretty heavy that it could be them. And I can't remember if that was something in maybe early scripts that was the case.
Oh.
I don't know.
Okay.
I just don't know off the top of my head. I do know, though, that Dewey was originally supposed to die at the end of the movie. And then I didn't test well, and they're like, you know what? Let's cart him out
Well,
on a
because
stretcher.
he's so likable.
He's so likable.
He's by far the funniest character this entire film.
Although, I will say, Randy's my favorite.
No, Randy's pretty good.
Because
Randy's great.
He's just the nerdy horror guy.
Randy is the meta part of this meta movie.
Yeah, and it does make me wish for maybe that alternate universe where it was Dewey and Randy.
Dewey, it wouldn't have happened. The incompetence.
No, I think it would be weirdly hyper competent.
You think so?
Yeah.
The amount of time. No.
Just
I'm sorry. Dewey's
for-
a bumbling fool.
for no reason. That would be the hyper comedy. Aside from that, though, I don't know how much I have to talk about this film.
No, I don't either.
I'm in this awkward place where I've seen this movie a bajillion times.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything that really stands out to me
Mm-hmm.
so much as like, oh, wow, that's super cool or interesting.
I got a couple things I want to talk about.
So, yeah, I'm just going to let you lead the conversation. There's one thing I want to talk about, but it's about the end of the movie, and it's a very small thing. So I'll do
Okay.
that last. So let's get you out of the way.
This is by far, and this is a whole category called meta slashers. This is by far the most meta film we watched, and it does the best job with it. It's
Oh, yeah.
so entertaining and cool. They do so many small nods to other horror films, not only by including Randy, who's someone really into horror and spouts horror nonsense all the time, but also just like other
Dialogue.
small stuff. Dialogue.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the dialogue. Like,
Every other line has a movie name in it.
yeah, or it's a reference to something, or it's like basically there's so much subtext that it's almost the subtext is the text of the film, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
The other thing they do is, and I noticed this, Ben didn't notice it, one of the big points at near the end of the film is that they're all at Stu's house at a party. They're all watching Halloween on the TV. You all know I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I thought you hated that movie.
I hate the third one specifically. Well,
No, that's your favorite.
I hate 3 and 5. 4's fine. Anyway, and they do this really cool thing where Halloween's playing on in the background, and they use the music from Halloween in the scene around that movie, and it's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's very specifically the music from the scene where,
I mean, I noticed that, but it's just background at this point for me, you know?
but it's cool because
I think-
it's layers, man,
Yeah, I
and
think
the layers add a lot.
I think the more noticeable part about that is not the music. It's the fact that there's screams and panic in that movie,
Mm-hmm.
and that lines up with like tricking characters.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's the most meta moment in the entire film, which is Randy watching Halloween on the
Yeah.
TV, and he's yelling at Laurie to turn around
Yep.
right as the killer's behind him,
Mm-hmm.
and the audience is going, "Turn around, Randy."
Yeah, no, it's great. I just want to point out that this is probably the best meta film we've seen on the podcast, and it's like it's so much better than every other one, like head and shoulders above the rest of them. In my
No,
opinion.
it is. I think I straight up told you that at the beginning of the season. Like Scream's better than the other two we've watched. These are just like, I know what you did last summer. I would say is like second place, and then
Sure.
Urban
Legends.
Legend is like third.
Yeah, I would say maybe the only thing that comes close is Friday the 13th Part 6. Maybe.
Yeah, but that's tonally very different. It's a very
It-
goofy movie.
It's totally very different, but it's goofy in similar ways to this.
no, so
Because this movie isn't goofy, but it's funny.
yes, I think that's the difference. So what I think's so great about the humor in this movie versus something like Friday the 13th Part 6 is Part 6 is very goofy
Mm-hmm.
and almost cartoon-esque,
It's fair.
and this movie is humorous.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the humor comes from the characters either being outlandish or just mentioning a funny like in joke for the audience. It's very normalized and real humor, like
Yeah.
something you would see actual teenagers doing
Yeah.
versus, oh, let's throw this guy into a tree and he leaves a smiley face on the log, you know?
Yeah. Oh man. Another thing that I like about this film, while we're on the topic of goofiness and humorousness, is it's funny, but not in a cartoonish way.
Like I just said.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But hold on. Let me get to my point.
That
here.
point I just made.
Well, this part of my new point that I'm making. But the fact that it is so grounded makes when people actually get murdered so fucking brutal.
Yeah.
I did not expect the kills to hit how hard they hit in this film. I was half expecting something similar to I Know What You Did Last Summer or Urban Legend, where the kills are cool and like they're pretty gruesome,
But you don't see him.
but you don't see them. But in this film, you see them, and they're also impactful.
Yeah. From what I heard, they had to cut a couple scenes, like not cut them, but cut them down
Mm-hmm.
because it was just too much.
Like, I have not winced like that in a while. There is a couple scenes where I was literally like, oh my god. And I think that comes from another great thing about this movie. All of the characters are really well written, and you give a shit about them,
Yeah.
and they're acted really well. So when people die, I actually feel bad.
Fair enough. To be honest, I think the reason the kills are so impactful in this film, besides the fact that you do like some of these characters, because that is a really important part of the film,
Mm-hmm.
I think the real reason, though, that the kills hit so hard is because, at least for the first half of the movie, that kind of gets a little bit more egregious at the end. The amount of damage characters can sustain and survive just feels very realistic.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And that's why I feel like they hit so hard, is
Mhm.
it has this layer of realism to it because it looks real, I guess.
Yeah.
I think the best example of that, because I personally think it's not the most graphic kill, but it is the most like almost brutal, is Kenny.
Oh,
Because Kenny just
God.
gets his throat slit out of nowhere, and it's just this moment of, oh no,
Kenny's dead.
he's just dead.
Yeah.
Like no build up, no nothing. It was just boop.
Oh,
And I think
God.
that really does capture like just the danger and
Yeah.
brutality of it.
No, it.
And in fact, it's kind of a frustrating moment for me because, like, a part of the thing for this movie is that all the characters are supposed to be kind of hyper competent,
Mm-hmm.
but because of the way this film is written, you kind of know the killers have to lose.
Yeah.
Like, they have to be incompetent in some ways. And at least for me, one of the most frustrating parts of the movie is the fact that they're very stab happy with their knives
Mm-hmm.
when they would have been much more effective slashing. There's a lot
Yeah.
of moments where it's like, you could have killed that person if you just slit their throat.
Fair enough.
Just thought I should mention that. Is that all you got, Bob?
So we haven't really talked about Ghostface at all. Like as a killer, I like Ghostface. I think he's cool. From what I've seen, I've only seen the first one. There's fucking 6 of these movies.
He's basically the same character
Really,
in every
the
movie.
coolest part about Ghostface, at least I think, in this movie, and it's something that a lot of other slasher films have a problem with when you go into long-running series, is they evolve from more than just a guy. And in this movie, Ghostface is just a guy, and he gets the shit kicked out of him sometimes, and I love it.
Very specifically, I think it's Billy getting the shit kicked out of him.
Maybe, we don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's Billy.
You know, we don't know.
One of the nice things about this movie is it's pretty well plotted out,
Mm-hmm.
and so people have like gone through and been like, oh, it's this killer at this point.
Yeah,
And also, logistically, he could have been there.
sure.
And generally speaking, the killer who tends to get the crap beaten out of him.
And it's awesome because once again, it adds to the realism of, oh, I'm fighting for my life, so I'm going to kick this guy in the nuts.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to fucking throw a beer bottle at him and shit. Like, it's refreshing when you watch other slasher films and go, oh, you're just going to helplessly get murdered right now for no reason instead of kicking the shit out of your killer.
I mean, that's fair, but that's just because, like, the slasher genre is really kicked off by Halloween and Friday the 13th, both
Mhm.
which have giant
Unkillable
man.
demons for murderers. I mean, sure. But that's what's refreshing about this is, like, I'm coming off of all of that, so I'm like, oh, Ghostface just got his shit kicked in. That's sick.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I really appreciated that because it makes everything feel so much more grounded. And that's the thing about this film is I love that it's not low stakes. It's very high stakes, but low, like, bullshit. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Like, it's no like, he's an unkillable zombie that's come back from the dead. It's like, no, that's just a guy in a mask, man. And that's sick.
Yeah.
It's everything about what makes Michael in Halloween 1 so good until he gets back up a lot.
But he's pure evil.
But he is pure evil. Last thing, and I think this is probably I don't know if it's my favorite part, but it's one of my favorite parts. We talked about how good the acting is. Specifically, the acting on Stu and Billy is fucking nuts. Because for the whole movie, they see, well, okay, Stu's a little unhinged the entire time, but that's just kind of his character. And so, like, when you get to the end, it's revealed that they're the killers, they flip. Billy does such a good job. Like, such a good job.
I'm going to say this right now because I know you didn't catch it. Go rewatch the movie knowing who the killers are, and it is so obvious
Really?
the second time around once you know, because Stu will do something, and you see Billy give him the most blatant side eye of, like, at one point, Stu gets really defensive because they're discussing who the killer is, all the friends, and Billy just goes, Stu, no one called you a killer.
See,
Just a bunch of really obvious stuff like that.
yeah.
Which, like, you don't catch the first time because, A, you're looking for one person,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 killers was unthinkable before this. So it's really cool.
No, I just want to commend both of them because, like, they do such a good job at the end. Like, they're both fucking psychotic in, like, the most insane way possible, and I love it so much.
Fair enough. Is that all you got?
I think that's all I got.
All right. Then I've upped it to 3 things I'm going to mention just
Okay.
really quick. First of all, in the first half of this podcast, I mentioned how Drew Barrymore was the main character of this film,
Yeah.
and Bob believed me,
Sure. I had no reason not to.
which kind of sucks because that was a really great bit. If Bob knew who that was as an actress,
Yeah. Well, also,
I would have showed you a picture if I realized you didn't know who Drew Barrymore was.
Yeah. I knew that she was gonna die because that's the same way Scary Movie opens.
Oh, fair enough.
So I
Well,
knew she was dead, and I
never
knew that was
mind
just the
then.
cold open.
That sucks that you've seen Scary Movie. I meant to mention this on the first half of the movie. I kind of mentioned it, but Scary Movie, almost scene for scene, this film.
Oh yeah,
but
except
just
with stupid jokes.
cartoonish. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so blatant. It's
Mhm.
almost like there's spoofs, right?
Yeah.
And it is a spoof, but it's almost like rip-off levels
Mhm.
of egregious.
No, it's ridiculous.
But the thing I was going to mention here is the fact that when this movie premiered, people did think like Drew Barrymore was the main lead
Whoa,
because she was the biggest name actress on the film,
that's crazy.
and she's like on all the posters, like right in the front.
That's fucking hilarious.
And the actress who plays Sydney
Mhm.
Prescott just wasn't very well known at the time.
Hmm.
Actually, most of the actors who were like the main characters in this movie weren't really well known at the time. And so a lot of the audience went in and they were like, oh yeah, Drew Barrymore's going to be the main character. She's the most famous,
Yeah, sure.
obviously. And so this whole like cold open happens, which is really long.
It's long. It's like 25 minutes or something.
And it just kind of blows people out of the way because like
She dies.
she dies.
Yeah.
And there's a couple scenes where it looks like she's going to get away.
Well, what's really cool is instead of doing like cold open cut, because like a lot of horror movies, you would do a cold open and then get the title card, and then that's how you know it's a cold open. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This movie opens with the title card, then starts playing.
Yeah.
So it tricks you in a way, which is really nice.
So I just wanted to mention that because it kind of sucks that it didn't work on Bob. But that is
Nah.
a thing. The next thing I do want to mention is the two killers' motives.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this movie has crazy good plot.
Yeah, there's kind of this whole B plot in the background that a year ago, before the events of this film, Sydney's mom was murdered,
Mm-hmm.
and she ended up being like the key witness in the case, and accused this guy Conweary for the murder. And the whole time, in the background of this movie, there's this woman, Gail Weathers, who's a reporter on I
Mhm.
think Channel 6,
Yeah.
and she basically did the case coverage for the Conweary case, and was convinced that the killer isn't Conweary.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Sydney was wrong; it was someone else. And there's kind of this whole B plot in this movie of Sydney doesn't like Gail
Yeah.
because from her perspective, it's this tabloid reporter who's calling her crazy.
But also she's like profiting off of the death of her mom, which is like fucked up in a way from Sydney's perspective.
But like the first time Sydney talks to the killers on the phone, they're like, "Oh, we murdered your mom."
Yep.
And so it immediately casts this doubt on like whether Sydney was right
Mm-hmm.
or if the killers are just fucking with her, because it was a very public case. But long story short, it comes out that Billy's the killer, and he's going after all these people primarily to kill Sydney
Mm-hmm.
and set up Sydney's dad for the murders, because Sydney's mom, as we learn throughout the film, at the very least, it's heavily implied, she cheated on her husband a lot
Yep.
and slept around town. And it's applied probably a good amount. And one of the people she slept with was Billy's dad.
Yep.
And so when Billy's mom found out, she left Billy's dad, but also abandoned Billy. And he got upset. And that's why he's murdering people,
Yeah.
which is very interesting setup.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it adds another layer to the film that doesn't need to be there to create like you can give a killer motivation without needing to set up all this background stuff to make the motivation make sense.
Yeah.
And by doing so, it makes a very cohesive overall story, which I really it helps a lot.
It's very well done. And it's also cool because it gives Sydney this background trauma,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty unique for, I think, a random slasher
Oh,
final girl.
for sure. And that's what makes this movie so goddamn good. Is it's layers on layers on layers of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The other thing I do want to refer to, though, is Stu's reasoning. Now, there's...
I don't know what it is because he doesn't give one.
he says peer pressure, man,
Yeah, which is pretty funny.
which is pretty funny. But I think there tends to be two reads on that. The one that Scary Movie gives is that he has a thing for Billy,
Oh,
and that's like why he's going along with peer pressure.
no, that makes sense. I
Um,
could see it.
I'm not sure how much I like that one,
Well, it also
but-
explains why he doesn't feel so bad about murdering his girlfriend.
but I can also definitely see it. However, the read I've always gotten on it is
Mhm.
he's just like not all there.
No, yeah, my read is that he's just a crazy person.
That's always been my read. Is there's just something a little wrong with him because
makes all of his ridiculous, like, over the top, super ridiculous, like, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a very specific word for it, but I can't. Erratic behavior.
yeah, erratic.
Make way more sense.
Yeah,
Because he's like that the whole film.
and it's always one of those moments where at the end of this film, I kind of feel bad for him
Oh, I feel so bad for him.
because he doesn't. Obviously, he murdered people,
Yeah.
which isn't great, but he doesn't seem very cognizant of his actions.
No.
At one point, Sydney's like mocking him, and she's like, "I called the cops." And when he's like, "Did you actually call the cops?" She's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Mom and Dad are gonna be so mad at me."
Yeah.
It's a very funny line, but it's also this moment of this character clearly doesn't realize that he's in real trouble,
He doesn't understand the weight of what's happened.
and that's not a normal thing for like
Mm-hmm.
what, a 17-year-old character,
Yeah.
and it's very odd. But I just wanted to bring that up.
No,
'Cause
yeah.
I think it's a very different vibe from Billy, who's
Who
very much
definitely knows what he's done. and
knows what he's done and is very in control
Yeah.
almost the entire movie. It's kind of that nice duotomy though of like
Oh, for sure.
manic versus non-manic killers.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good, and I think that's probably the best aspect of there being two killers in this film is they bounce off of each other super duper well, like personality wise. Like it's just so fun to watch them interact with each other.
Oh
And
yeah, it's
so
great.
good. And also, it lets them get away with a lot of bullshit because there are two of them,
Yeah.
which is great because it makes the whole whodunit aspect way stronger.
It's great because of the whodunit thing, but like I said, it's not something that was done before now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was completely unexpected, but it makes a lot of the bullshit that like horror movies get away with like teleporting killers
Yeah.
actually valid.
And if you watch this not going in blind and going, I don't know, there are two killers, you get the whole thing of like, oh yeah, the killer can just do that because he's the killer.
Yeah.
It's a horror movie, right?
But once you know, like you can actually pretty much track like, oh, he's just running here and then
Yep.
there's the other guy there.
Mm-hmm.
That aside though, before we I guess go to the recommendations, the final thing I want to mention is 2 points that I think are really, really dumb in this film.
Okay.
Like closer to the end, there's some other things where like people mess up and just make bad decisions,
Sure.
right? But there's 2 bad decisions made at the very end of this film that I think are especially egregious because they are stupid.
Yep.
Like life and death stupid. Firstly, as a part of their cover-up, Stu and Billy decide to stab each other
Yeah.
to be like the final killers, but they didn't get away unharmed.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't think that's the worst plan ever.
No, it's not a horrible idea.
There's some issues with forensics throughout this whole movie.
Oh, for sure. That's
but-
something I was thinking about.
Hand wave that because movie,
I guess.
And so their plan isn't that bad, all things considered.
I mean, my thing is, this plan is super convoluted and insane.
no,
and, like,
but
super well set up. And if they were to be so as precise as they think they're being, they would have thought of that.
I mean, fair. But the plan was created by Stu, so
Fair enough.
think about that. My issue isn't with the plan and everything. My issue comes down to the fact that, well, A, they got a lot more manic at the end,
Yeah.
which was a little bit weird. But again, that's just how the movie has to be for it to work. But my real issue with their plan is they start stabbing each other before they've dealt with all the people.
Yeah.
And it's just so dumb. Like, if they had literally waited to kill Sydney before they started crippling each other,
Yeah.
they probably would have gotten away with it.
Oh, probably.
So, that's dumb. I think it really has to... It's almost a reach for me.
So, can I have a little bit of input here? Because
Yeah.
I think I know why they do it.
I mean, go ahead. Is it the show off to her?
It's that, but also, like, I think a big part of this movie is that Billy wants Sydney to feel pain. And what's more horrific than watching two dudes stab each other in front of you? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like his goal is not only to kill her, but to make her feel as much pain as possible. And watching, like, them stab each other and do all this fucked up shit is part of the process.
I mean, fair. But you know what you could do first?
What?
Stab her so she's bleeding out, and then you start stabbing each other.
I mean, sure.
It's just... It feels like kind of a stretch for me.
I
Because
don't know.
they were overall doing a pretty decent job.
Yeah.
Until that one thing. And it's like, who in their right mind, which Stu's not in his right mind, but Billy's kind of there,
He's around.
would
There.
be like, I'm going to stab myself before I've killed all the able-bodied people in this building.
Sure.
So I've always been a little iffy on that. I do think it's a cool scene though.
No, it's a good
And
scene.
I love Matthew Lillard's. I'm feeling a little woozy.
I think I'm dying, man.
He's so great.
He's so good.
But probably the worst thing, like the stupidest thing I think any character does in this film is Billy's looking for Sydney at one point because she gets away.
Yeah.
And Sydney ends up hiding in a closet, and she bursts out and she stabs him with an umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool.
Yeah, it's a good scene.
But she does it dressed up as Ghostface.
Yeah.
That is the stupidest decision I have ever seen in a movie almost ever.
Mm-hmm. No, I can agree
For
with you.
2 reasons. A, she spent time
Putting it on.
putting it on, which is really easy to put on and off, but like
Yeah. It's basically just a dress with a mask.
I think it's even a robe. Like I think it opens up in
Maybe.
the front. But like if you're in a high tense situation like this where it's high stakes and like a killer could jump out at you at any time, being preoccupied putting on a costume
Yeah.
is really dumb. But you know what? Maybe I get that. The real reason I think it's stupid is she's called the cops.
Yep.
They are going to be here any moment. You know what looks really, really bad when the cops come?
If you're wearing the killer's outfit.
If you're wearing a Ghostface outfit, stabbing someone with an umbrella.
Yeah. Yeah.
She is so lucky they weren't there already.
Yeah.
Because, I'm going to be honest, I think it would be a much funnier movie if they burst in the door
Just
right
shoot
as
her.
she's taking the mask off and just shoot her.
Oh my god. That's brutal.
And I want to say in my magical universe where it was Dewey and Randy, I think that'd be the peak ending.
That's hilarious.
Because everyone else is dead. Stewie and Randy have gotten the shit beaten out of them by Sydney. And she's just stabbed one of them and she gets shot so they win.
That's hilarious. That's so fucking
But
funny.
I just wanted to talk about that because it's just one of these moments of, yeah, it's a cool scene because we get to see Ghostface stab the Ghostface killers.
Yeah, I mean, that's a cool moment.
And I get that. It's super cool. It's kind of meta, but it's also like,
Yeah.
that was dumb.
No, it's stupid.
And for a movie that's all about like punishing dumb decisions in horror
Mhm.
movies, to do that is like, well, you should have been punished, right?
Yeah, I guess.
It just stands out, I guess.
No, and when it happened, I was just like, why would she put that on? Like, I was just like, you could have just burst out of the closet and stabbed the man.
I don't think I've ever seen the trailer for this movie. I wonder if there's a scene in the trailer
Oh, probably.
where they have Ghostface stabbing
Billy
and
so
that's-
that you don't think it's if you've seen the trailer.
and that's why it's in there.
Maybe.
Hmm.
Maybe. That makes sense. No, that would definitely make sense.
Because he's obviously the really obvious red herring.
Yeah, for sure.
But in this film, you're supposed to believe it. On that note, though, let's do recommendations, I guess.
Okay. If you're a fan of horror movies in general, this movie's chock full of references to other horror films or horror adjacent properties. Honestly, it definitely helps if you've seen some other horror movies. Like, it helps a ton. You get a ton of references. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'd almost say, though, you don't need to, like, have seen the horror movies. You just need to know them.
About them. Yeah, sure. That's
'Cause
fair.
A lot of the meta elements are kind of like jokes about names of films.
Mm-hmm.
Like, general film cinema knowledge is kind of what you need.
Yeah. If you're a fan of slashers, it's a good slasher. It's a lot more grounded than a lot of the slashers that came out of the 80s. And I like that about this film. I think it's super fun. If you want a good meta movie, goddamn, it's great. This is, I'm going to say it again. I mean, this is head and shoulders above every other meta film we've seen. Like, I can't believe how insanely interwoven the meta elements are. And it's so fucking fun.
No, it's much better than the other ones we saw. Even I Know What You Did Last Summer, who's the same writer.
Yeah.
I think in part that's just mostly due to the fact that good writer and good director.
Mhm.
It's that combination.
Yeah. If you want a good murder mystery, and you didn't just hear us talk about who the killer is, it's great for that. I love a good murder mystery. I love a good whodunit. You all know that. I've said that on like every episode of the meta slasher genre category thing we did this season. This is the best one. Like, it's great. Like, I like this movie. It's really, really fun. I'm excited to watch the rest of them at some point when we fucking get to it. Who knows when that'll be.
It'll be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, those are my recommendations. I like this film. It's very, very, very good.
Okay. To be honest, I have most of the same recommendations as Bob. If you want a meta slasher, this is the best one. Hands down. If you want a smart slasher, also pretty good for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think really the biggest recommendation I can give here is if you're just a fan of horror or even just like want to get into horror,
Yeah.
this is kind of a good film to watch because it's important to the genre because it revitalized it, and I think it's created a lot of the tropes and ideas we see in the modern, like especially slasher zeitgeist.
For sure, for sure.
But it's also like a pretty low ratings movie overall. Like the gore can be pretty bad at times, and
Yeah.
it can feel pretty brutal.
But it doesn't hold on it for super long.
But objectively, yeah, there's not much of it. It's
Yeah.
really the intensity. I hate to bring that back up, but it's the intensity that makes that gore bad.
Yeah.
And aside from that, it's like there's a couple scenes of gore, but there's not that many like issues with language. There's no nudity. They just make jokes about it.
Yeah, and that's really funny.
It's just like a really good film for like if you're a young teen wanting to get into horror.
Yeah, it's
mean,
a
that's
good
when I
jumping off
watched it.
point, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's probably my recommendations right there. So I guess we do reviews.
I'm in a tough spot. Because like I've just said, this movie's really good and I really like it a lot. I don't remember what I gave the other two movies in this category. I'm going to be honest with you. We watched 4 of them and I don't remember any of them because it's been a while since we recorded those episodes. But I'm going to be really honest. I think I have to give it a 5. Like I don't have any major issues with this film. I think in a meta sense, it's so much better than every other one we watched. It's a pretty good slasher with really good plot. It's super well written. The acting's great. I mean, yeah, I have to give it a 5. I like this movie, and I get why it revitalized the genre. Like, I totally get why slashers died. Then you watch this and you go, holy shit. Because it's so different, you know? In a lot of really, really good ways.
Fair enough. All right, I'm in an awkward boat here, right? Because like I said, I've seen this film so many times
Yeah.
where I think the main aspect of the film being like a whodunit doesn't really work for me anymore.
I mean, fair enough. I totally get that.
I mean, that doesn't make it any worse, but it's just like when you've seen a film so many times that you know some of the lines just generally, it's kind of hard to look at it objectively.
No, that's totally fair, and I get that.
And so just straight up, like, my enjoyment of the movie nowadays isn't super high anymore. Like, I love the movie. I think it's pretty good. Not that the Scream franchise has ever been, like, my most favorite franchise ever, but I think it's pretty solid. And it goes to show because this movie's just so good. But in all honesty, like, it just doesn't hit me the same way
No, that's
it
fair.
used to. And so part of me doesn't want to give it, like, a super high rating.
Damn.
Because of that. Because I don't know, it just doesn't hit me that same way anymore. It doesn't have that pizzazz.
Doesn't have the oomph it used to, I guess.
Yeah. With that being said, I'm probably just going to give it a 5 because it's just so tightly done
Yeah.
and well shot and well written.
We didn't even talk about the cinematography. There's some really, really good shots in this movie.
Yeah. It's overall just a really, really good film. And I really can't find anything too wrong with it. So, again, I was kind of between a 4.5 and a 5, but
Yeah.
I'm just going to be nice and give it a 5, I think.
No, and I totally get where you're coming from in having seen it before and knowing, because I'm going to be honest. When I thought I knew how this movie ended, I wasn't having as good of a time.
Yeah, it's a really good film. And to be honest, it's one of those hard issues of, at its core, this is almost a mystery film. And when you know the mystery
In a mystery.
of a mystery, you lose the main interest of that story.
Exactly.
Mysteries are mostly good because of that mysterious element. That's why they're really, really hard to like rewatch and stuff,
Yeah, man.
or just watch it all if you know the ending. And so when you have films like that, the thing you have to look at is how well written they are and how funny and how well thought out. And this one has all of that. And so I don't know how good the staying power is long term, especially if you've seen it 40 times, because this is on at like every Halloween party I've ever been to.
I mean, yeah, why wouldn't it be? This and
Um,
Halloween, you know?
It really does. It's pretty good.
Man.
So 5.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's my big thing is, like, I could see myself rewatching this for fun without needing to know, like, needing to pay attention to it or know the mystery part. You know what I mean?
It's really cool because it's so well done that you can find new things every time you watch it that are just like, oh, I didn't catch that. Which, that shows how well done it is, I think.
Yeah.
On that note, though, I guess we're going to go to the outtakes.
Yeah. Oh, God.
You better include those.
It's an embarrassment, but I will.
Last time we talked about you embarrassing yourself, you purposely didn't put them in.
No, because they straight up weren't funny.
Oh, were they not?
No, I told you this. They straight up were not even entertaining.
Well, we'll see if they go in now.
No, they probably will because it's pretty funny this time.
All right, see you guys in a minute.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the outtake section for this episode of Beware the Board. I hope you're enjoying our review of Scream so far. I like this movie. I think it's super duper fun. But without further ado, let's get into the outtakes. This first clip is our reaction to one of the first dead bodies we see in the film. What happened to Steve?
That's what happened to Steve.
Holy shit!
They gutted him like a fish.
Didn't think Steve got that fucked up. This next clip is me making a statement that's completely and totally false. Okay. I'm aware Dewey's a murderous bitch. I like him.
It's very funny.
This next clip is our reaction to Sydney giving Gail exactly what she deserves. Oh my god! Holy shit! God damn. I did not expect her to punch her in the face like that. That was awesome. This next clip is our reaction to Gail and Dewey flirting. Are you hitting on him or are you calling him a child? And if you're doing both, that's weird. Dewey and his boyish good looks. Here's another clip of me being wrong and assuming Dewey's the killer. I didn't know that. That's sick.
What?
That's such a good way to set up the end of the film.
What, a fake out?
Yeah. Hi everybody, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the outtakes and how wrong I really was. God. I feel so much shame right now, like posting the movie and being everything. I'm like, oh, that's so stupid. Why did I think that? And I don't know why. And I can't explain it because how did I get half of it correct? How did I get half of the movie correct?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm going to say scary movie.
Maybe. I've seen it.
Anyways, we don't have any real announcements except next week's the wrap up.
Yeah, end of the season, baby.
So tune in for that, and we'll tell you what the categories are for next season. It's going to be a weird season. I got a feeling right now.
It'll definitely be weird.
Aside from that, check us out wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you're listening to it. We're also over on YouTube. For whatever reason, if you want to watch us there, that's available. The only reason I would go over there is to show us some love because we can see your subscriptions, your likes, stuff like that. It's also nice because it's one of the main places to communicate with us at. You can do that in the comment section of a specific video if you have something you want to mention. Or you can go over to Twitter and go tell Bob about your favorite scary movie.
Oh, that's a good point. That's actually a nice conversation I'd like to have because I feel like people have varying, like, some people like specific genres,
Yeah.
So it's like, what's your favorite scary movie? I don't know. Like Ben said, check us out on Twitter at Beware the Board. It's where I post updates about the show, information about the show. Basically, if there's anything you don't know about the show, it goes on our Twitter. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that Friday's episode, which is basically a hidden movie cover that you could reveal so you can see what the movie is that we're watching that week, so you can watch it before we do, so whenever you listen to the episode, you don't get any spoilers. Then, on Fridays, or if an episode goes live, I post a link to the episode with maybe a funny meme. Oh, God, you can make a good meme out of this one. I'm just saying. There's some funny moments. You could do it. It's up to you, though.
But will I?
Maybe. So if you ever miss an upload or want to know when something went up, there's always a link on our Twitter. Last thing, I'm back to making short form content for TikTok at Beware the Board and YouTube Shorts.
Are you actually, though?
Yeah, actually, I worked on one yesterday morning before I went to bed.
Was that the first time you worked on one in a while?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it was it?
Yeah.
Because right after Aliens, you promised you were going to work on one right after recording.
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
And you know what happened?
What?
I played Baldur's Gate.
So you didn't.
I meant to, but then I forgot. And then was like, I want to play Baldur's Gate.
I was like, I listened to that episode last night. I was like, I'm going to call Bob out on that.
Yep.
Because I know he didn't.
No, I meant to, but then I was like, you know what? That can wait because Baldur's Gate.
You were being spiteful about
But also, we discussed a new way to do short form content. and I might try that out.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That'll be cool if you do it.
Yeah, so look out for more short form content coming on Apple with the Board on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. I'm going to try to get some more out, but it's another time-consuming thing. But now that we're done with all these side series and other nonsense for a while, at least till the end of the month.
Till next year.
No. We got to... Christmas, baby. Thanksgiving. We got to do movies for holidays, baby.
Thanksgiving 2, baby!
I don't want to watch it because that movie sucks. I like the first one, though. It's not good, but it's fun.
Thanksgiving 2.
No. Okay. I think that's it.
All right. See you guys next week.
Yeah. See you guys next time.